Today we're going to talk about 7 entities from a cartoon that's older compared to others I've already brought here to the channel, right? But it's much scarier than those others. The 7 bizarre beings from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Stupid dog, you made me look bad.
For younger viewers who may be unfamiliar, this cartoon might not ring a bell. And to explain it really quickly here, it's basically a cartoon about a purple dog with yellow teeth who lives in an isolated place, literally called nowhere, together with an elderly couple named Muriel and Eustace. And even though the place is really isolated, they get visits from all kinds of bizarre creatures. And here we'll talk about some of them. The Queen of the Black Puddle is basically a mermaid in Courage's universe. She, like basically every mermaid or succubus too, ends up seducing men. She wears a black dress and has kind of purple hair, and when she betrays men, she kills them afterwards. Or rather, she tries to devour them. In the Queen's case, she takes them to her palace, which is down there under the water. And when she wants prey, she's determined enough to get it no matter what. The thing is, she can leave her world through any liquid, be it tea, coffee, tears, or water. Anything. In the first episode where she appears, which is even named after her, it all starts with Courage getting some affection from Muriel, until Eustace being the jerk he is. He scares Courage, leaves the house, and sees a bubbling puddle there. Courage sees his reflection turning into the Queen's face. He tries to warn his owners, but they dismiss him. Muriel says Courage must be crazy and probably just saw a fish.
Courage, it must have been a fish.
Until suddenly the Queen comes out of Eustace's tea, which is actually a pretty weird scene. Eustace, and she starts calling for him. Eustace acts kind of dumb, and then Muriel asks him to go fix the leak in the kitchen. Eustace doesn't want to, but he goes anyway. Then the Queen appears to him again, but this time in a drop of water. Eustace acts so foolishly that he sits inside a bucket. Muriel, thinking his behavior is odd, tells him to bathe so the day can end. In the bathtub, the Queen reappears and nearly makes Eustace go down the drain.
My God, I'm getting worried about you, Eustace.
Then everyone goes to sleep and a really creepy scene happens, with the Queen coming out of the puddle outside and entering their house during the night. She takes Eustace to the puddle. The following morning, Muriel awakens, assumes Eustace had departed, and begins to cry. And then, Courage decides to go after Eustace to rescue him, and he ends up finding the Queen's castle. He witnesses her monstrous transformation, but manages to rescue Eustace using a fishing rod and flee. Eventually, another queen arrives, this time for Courage himself. I also have Adventure Time Mythology and regular show videos on this channel. Check the card in description for links. And if you want books or anything else about mythologies and all that, take a look at the pinned link I left in the comments, okay? The Mattress Demon episode is simply the Courage episode that talks about demonic possession. Pretty chill, right? And it all starts with Muriel complaining about the old mattress she used to sleep on. A mattress that even had a big spring sticking out of it. They were still sleeping on it, but anyway.
Eustacio, I want a new mattress, and that's final.
The next day, Eustacio searches the newspaper for an affordable mattress and finds one listed. Muriel calls the mattress number, and the place says they were even expecting her call. The mattress is then carried in a very strange way and delivered in an even stranger way. Courage tries again to warn that he saw something strange there, but he's ignored again, and Muriel goes to take a nap. When Courage goes to check on her again, he sees that she's being possessed by a weird green demon. In her possessed form, Muriel even looks a bit like Medusa with her hair. So Courage asks Eustace for help, but Eustace is kind of a jerk to him again. Then Courage picks him up and takes him to the room to see Muriel, and there we have a scene kind of like The Exorcist, where Muriel turns her neck. Courage goes to check on Muriel again and has a brief conversation with the demon there. It's revealed that multiple demons, not just one, are possessing Muriel at this moment. There's a quick thumb war, kind of random, but Courage ends up losing. And after losing, he turns to someone we all turn to when we have a problem, which in this case is the internet.
Exorcist? Exactly, an exorcist. Instructions for a basic exorcism.
Wow. And he prints out an exorcism from the internet and gives it to Eustacio so he can try to get the demon out of his wife. But he's simply humiliated, even getting licked in the face and vomited onto. But then Courage himself ends up performing the exorcism, and the demons go into Eustacio, who gets hit by Muriel, is trapped in his own mattress, and then is returned to the store. This one isn't a creature or anything too out of the ordinary, but he's a very weird guy. He's basically a psychopath, so it's worth mentioning him here. As he himself says, Fred is very cruel. He's my dear Aunt Muriel's nephew, and about how I've been cruel. Actually, his whole episode is really weird too. Fred is Muriel's nephew, who appears for the first time in an episode called Weird Fred, or Freaky Fred in English. And even though Muriel apparently likes him a lot, Eustacio doesn't feel the same way, since he calls him a freak or something like that several times, saying that the freak is a barber, a weird barber.
The guy is a barber, a crazy barber with his own crazy barber shop.
And Courage also, of course, doesn't like him. Actually, he's very afraid of Fred. Fred realized that he has a compulsion to be cruel. It happened for the first time when he got a hamster. As a pet, he cut off all the fur from the little animal. Later, he ended up falling in love with a girl named Barbara, who had an untamed mane. They had a pretty normal relationship, until one night he ended up shaving her head, which made her break up with him. After that, he promised himself that he would control this compulsion of his. I was never cruel again. Well,
never would be an exaggeration.
But when a man with a long beard came to his barbershop, it brought all of that back.
I immediately thought, why not? So I actually went
cruel. So Fred ended up being admitted to a mental institution for crazy barbers. During the holidays, he ended up visiting his aunt and her husband, Muriel and Eustace, and during that time, he became very obsessed with Courage. He even ended up getting stuck in the bathroom with him. Taking advantage of that, he started cutting Courage's fur little by little until there was practically nothing left. Only his little tail was left, and when he left, being taken away by the police, he left a note there for Courage, signed with love, Fred. And even as he was being taken away by the police, he kept looking at Courage's farm with a very creepy smile while saying goodbye in his thoughts.
Farewell, Courage. What's wrong with a bit of cruelty?
Weremole is a type of predator there in nowhere. Just like a werewolf, it passes the curse on when it bites someone. They are very violent and are always looking to feed on either rabbits or humans. And always in a horrible way, they grab and bite their victim and shake them. They are known for being furry and extremely aggressive, of a completely inhuman nature, and the only known cure for someone who ends up becoming a weremole. Giving the infected person a bit of fur from the infecting mole may work for humans and rabbits, but it's uncertain for other species. When Courage was bitten by the mole, he didn't end up becoming one, because he was already a dog. So the weremole curse doesn't work on Courage, although he could still get beaten up and even killed by one of them. In the episode where she appears for the first time, one of these moles bites Muriel, who ends up transforming and tormenting Courage and Eustace. The situation is only resolved when Courage once again asks the internet for help, which gives him the cure. King Ramesses definitely has one of the scariest episodes of Courage, especially because of the scene you're about to see here. He ends up casting some plagues on Courage's house because Eustace took a stone that belonged to him, which was stolen from his tomb.
Well, judging by the markings and the obvious age of the relic, I would say this is... Lysho!
Eustachio kind of realized that the tablet was worth a fortune. He refuses to give it back, even though he's being extremely tormented by the pharaoh's ghostly curse. Hey, Ramesses, of course, right? The ghost of the pharaoh whose tomb ended up being disturbed by two thieves. He even kind of scares the two of them there in his tomb, but they ended up hiding the stone in the water pump at Courage's house. Realizing this, he sends a swarm of locusts to devour everyone there. But when Courage ends up finding the tablet, Eustace is kind of uninterested at first, but he immediately grabs the stone when he realizes it's worth about $1 million.
It's the $1 million stone stolen from King Hansel's tomb. Ah!
I'm rich. The researcher visits Eustachio's house to get the stone, but Eustachio refuses and slams the door in their face. That same night, Eustachio becomes obsessed with the money and starts talking to himself about what he'll buy with his money. But then very loud noises start coming from outside the house. And when they go to see what's happening, Eustachio ends up opening the door, and there's the spirit of King Ramesses visiting the farm and asking for the stone back. That's when the really scary scene happens.
Give back the stone! Give back the stone or you will suffer my curse!
And even after being warned that he would end up suffering a curse if he didn't give back the stone, Eustachio still refuses, thinking that King Ramesses was actually a researcher who was just wearing a costume there just to get the relic back.
Ah, it was a disguise, Professor. Who's he trying to fool with that cheap zippered costume?
King Ramesses casts a plague on the water, one of the three listed on the stone, flooding the house. Courage opens a huge drain in the house's basement. The pharaoh demands the stone again, but Eustace refuses. The next plague arrives, loud and extremely annoying music from a phonograph playing a song about King Ramesses, calling him the man from Gaze. Courage ends up discovering where the sound is coming from and destroys everything using a stick there. Insisting once again, King Ramesses appears again and asks for the stone back. But in the middle of the third plague, Eustace kind of bribes Ramesses.
All right, but I won't take less than $1 million.
Trying to make a deal there, but he kind of gives up. When they're about to be swallowed by locusts, Courage throws the stone out the window. But then Eustace changes his mind again and jumps to get the stone. He kind of starts provoking King Ramesses again, who raises his arms and simply calls the third plague again, the swarm of locusts, which goes straight for Eustace. And then, when the stone is finally returned to King Ramesses, a researcher appears reporting everything on television, and you can see an image that would represent Eustace screaming there, kind of like his own hieroglyph. The spirit, as you can see there, is extremely bizarre, just its appearance alone. He basically got upset with Eustace and Muriel because they didn't respect his land and never made an offering on the night of the full moon, even with Eustace saying that the land is incapable of bearing fruit. Because of that, he casts a spell on the farm, causing all sorts of strange things to happen, and then demands that they leave the house. After Eustace and Muriel stay there, the spirit gives them 10 minutes to grow a plant. When Eustace refuses, Muriel and the spirit argue with him, calling him stubborn and not a farmer. After about 10 minutes, the spirit raises the temperature, causing everything to melt. Then Courage manages to grow a plant using Eustace's sweat, and when the plant grows, the spirit lowers the temperature back to normal and leaves, saying an enigmatic message about how they grew more than just a plant.
You want to grow more than just a plant?
Happy harvest.
The goose god is basically an anthropomorphic goose who is quite muscular and who is a god. He was likely inspired by the gods, as shown in the videos there. During the episode called The Gods Can Be Geese, this god ends up feeling very lonely and falls in love with Muriel, and he visits her several times, giving her many gifts, flowers, and many other things. Courage tries, of course, to stop him from getting anywhere, and Eustace pays much more attention to his truck than to what's happening there. After Muriel gently rejects him, saying that she had a very happy marriage, which, well, at least for me as a viewer, didn't seem that happy. But for her, apparently it was happy. But the goose refuses to take no for an answer and decides to keep trying. When he starts pulling her up to the skies, Korishin tries one last time to get Eustace's help by honking the truck. And this ends up pleasing the goose god, who ends up falling in love with him and takes the truck to his home in the clouds. If you made it this far, please like, subscribe, and share the video to support me. Comment any other cartoon, movie, or series you want me to cover. Thanks, bye.